You're digging through a handful of old change, maybe looking for parking meter money or tossing coins into a jar on your dresser, when suddenly, one copper penny catches your eye. It looks ordinary, dull, worn, maybe even a little dirty. But what if I told you that single 1977 D. Lincoln penny could secretly be worth over $1 million? Yeah, I said it, $1 million. Not because it's made of gold, not because it's rare in the usual sense, but because of a mistake, a mysterious minting error that slipped past the US Mint nearly half a century ago. And almost no one noticed, until now. Back in 1977, the Denver Mint was producing hundreds of millions of Lincoln pennies. The machines were working non-stop, punching planchets, striking coins, and sending them out into circulation. But in the middle of that controlled chaos, something went wrong. A handful of pennies were struck using the wrong die alignment and on a unique copper alloy composition. A transitional planchet that was never supposed to exist in 1977. These weren't supposed to make it out of the mint. Yet somehow, they did. Now, here's where it gets even stranger. For decades, collectors thought every 1977 D penny was just a normal copper coin, worth 1 cent, nothing more. But when one sharp-eyed collector from Colorado Springs examined a batch of pennies under magnification in the early 2000s, he noticed something off. The color was slightly darker, the surface smoother, and the weight just a hair lighter than a normal penny that he put it on a scale. Instead of 3.11 grams, the standard for a copper penny, it came in at 2.5 grams. That's the weight of a zinc penny. But zinc pennies weren't officially introduced until 1982. What he had found was impossible, and that impossible coin sold for nearly $1 million at auction. That here's the thing. Most people think these stories are just myths or exaggerated headlines. But in the world of coin collecting, reality can be stranger than fiction. Errors, misstrikes, off-metal planchets, they're the hidden gems of US coinage. And they've made ordinary people into millionaires overnight. Now, before you start tearing through every penny jar in your house, let's slow down and learn how to spot one of these incredible 1977 D. Lincoln penny errors. Because yes, it's still out there. First, look for the mint mark. It has to be a clear D right under the date. That stands for Denver Mint. Then, check the coin's color and texture. The $1 million version tends to look slightly more matte, almost with a dull, dark bronze finish compared to the usual reddish tone. That's the first sign. Next, grab a digital scale if you can. A normal 1977 D penny weighs around 3.11 grams. But if your coin weighs closer to 2.5 grams, that's a major red flag. It means your penny was struck on a planchet intended for a later zinc coin, not a 1977 copper one. That's where the big money lies. The edges. A genuine 1977 D error coin will have cleaner, sharper edges, and in some cases, a slightly misaligned strike. Sometimes Lincoln's profile is just a touch off-center. That tiny imperfection could mean the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. Now let's reset for a moment. Think about this. All across America, jars, drawers, old coffee cans, and shoeboxes are filled with forgotten pennies, coins that haven't seen daylight in decades. And among them could be one of these mysterious 1977 D treasures. Every day, people spend them, cash them in, or ignore them completely, not realizing what they're giving away. Imagine being the one person who finally notices that it's happened before. In 2019, a man in California brought a handful of coins to a local dealer just to see if any were worth keeping. One of them turned out to be a mint error penny from the late 70s, authenticated by experts, and that coin alone sold for nearly $1 million. One coin, one moment, one life completely changed. That's the thrill of this hobby. It's not just about collecting, it's about discovering. Each coin you hold is a piece of American history, struck in metal, carrying the story of a time, a place, and sometimes a mistake that's worth a fortune. Now, let's circle back to the 1977 D mystery. Why do these rare versions exist at all? The leading theory among numismatists is that leftover experimental planchets from the mint's test runs for the new zinc composition accidentally got mixed into the 1977 D copper batch. A few slipped through, unnoticed, unrecorded, and untraceable. That's what makes them so fascinating. There's no official record. No one knows exactly how many exist. Maybe 10, maybe 5, maybe just one. The fact that you could be holding one right now, that's the kind of mystery that keeps collectors searching. Every couple of years, another one surfaces, usually in an old roll of coins from the bank or in an inherited collection. Each time, experts confirm it's the same anomaly. A 1977 D penny struck on the wrong metal, weighing just 2.5 grams, with the faintest reddish gold tone, and every time, the value climbs higher. Now picture this. You find one. You take it to a local coin shop. The dealer looks at it, flips it under the magnifier, and freezes. His eyes widen. He calls in another expert. They both nod. Suddenly, that little penny you almost spent on a gumball is insured for 7 figures. You're standing there, realizing that something that's been sitting in your home for years just changed your life. If that's not fantasy, it's happened more times than you'd believe. Most of these million-dollar coins were found by regular people, not full-time collectors, not museum curators, everyday folks who took the time to look twice. That's the power of knowledge and curiosity. So if you've got a jar full of old pennies, especially from the 70s, don't ignore them. Take them out. Check for that 1977 date. Look for that D mint mark. Feel the weight. Notice the color. And if something feels even slightly off, don't dismiss it. They're stories cast in metal. They carry secrets, errors, and opportunities that can rewrite someone's destiny. The 1977 D Lincoln penny is proof of that. A small, unassuming coin that holds $1 million mystery. So tonight, when you get home, take one last look in that change jar, in that old coffee can, in the back of that drawer you never clean out. Because you never know, that ordinary penny you've been overlooking all these years might be the one. A simple 1990 D Lincoln penny, the kind most people wouldn't look at twice, is now worth over $1.1 million. Sounds impossible, right? But this story is very real. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for, because this penny might already be sitting in your house. It all starts with a mistake. Somewhere inside the Denver Mint back in 1990, something extraordinary happened, something that even the mint workers didn't notice at first. The Lincoln pennies being struck that year looked normal, but a tiny handful weren't. These coins were made using the wrong die, a die meant for proof coins, not circulation coins. Proof dies are reserved for collector's sets, struck with mirror-like detail and precision. But a few of these escaped into regular circulation. That's where the legend of the 1990 D Lincoln penny begins. A regular person, sorting through a jar of pennies, suddenly notices something different. The shine, the detail, the perfection of the lettering. At first glance, it's just another brown coin. But under the right light, it reveals razor-sharp edges and a mirror finish, unlike anything else in the pile. That's how some of these million-dollar pennies were discovered, by pure accident. But yes, this one tiny piece of copper-plated zinc has made collectors lose their minds. Only a few are known to exist, and every one that surfaces sends shockwaves through the coin community. It's not just a coin. It's a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, a reminder that even the smallest things can hold the biggest surprises. Let's take a closer look at what makes this penny so special. First, flip it over. On the obverse side, you should see Lincoln's profile facing right, with the date, 1990, and the small D mint mark just beneath it. The D stands for Denver. But here's where it gets mysterious. On the real million-dollar version, the proof die gives the coin an unusually deep mirror finish, and the details are crisp, especially around Lincoln's beard and the lettering, "In God We Trust." Now, most 1990 D pennies are ordinary, mass-produced coins, billions of them. But this one, it stands apart. Experts believe that less than 20 of these proof-error coins were ever released into the wild. They were never meant to leave the mint, yet somehow, they did. Maybe an employee slipped them out by mistake, or maybe it was fate giving a lucky collector a golden ticket disguised as a penny. You could have one of these coins in an old coffee can, or maybe tucked away in a drawer. It might have been in your family's change jar for years, passed from hand to hand, completely unnoticed. And yet, it could be worth over $1 million. That's the kind of story that makes you want to grab a magnifying glass right now. First, you'll need good lighting and a jeweler's loupe or magnifying glass. Look for an unusually sharp strike. The lettering should look bold and flawless, almost as if it were engraved. The background should appear reflective, like a tiny mirror. This is a major sign it was struck with proof dies. Next, pay attention to the edges. The rim should be extra clean and well-defined, not the dull, flat look of regular pennies. And here's the big giveaway. If your coin looks this perfect and it's not from a proof set, you may just have one of the ultra-rare 1990 D-proof error pennies. Collectors will pay 6 or even 7 figures for it, depending on condition. Imagine finding a penny worth more than a Ferrari. Now that's wild. But before you run off to spend it, get it graded by a trusted service like PCGS or NGC. These companies authenticate and encapsulate coins to verify their value. If your penny is the real deal, you'll know. And that little plastic holder they put it in? That could be the key to turning your discovery into over $1 million. Let's reset for a moment and really think about this. Every year, billions of coins roll out of the mint, and most of them vanish into pockets, purses, and cash registers without a second thought. Yet among all that metal, a few rare treasures slip through. Coins that defy logic and rewrite the rules of value. The 1990 D penny is one of those miracles. It's a modern-day treasure hunt, hiding in plain sight. Imagine the emotion of the first collector who realized what they'd found. Their heart must have stopped for a second. One glance, one clue, and suddenly they're holding something priceless. The story spread fast through the coin community, and collectors everywhere started tearing through their change. Who wouldn't? After all, it's not every day you find a coin worth over $1 million sitting in your pocket. A single cent, a symbol of everyday life, of the smallest unit of value, suddenly becoming a fortune. It's the ultimate underdog story. The kind of thing that makes you believe there's still magic left in the world if you know where to look. And that's why collectors keep searching. Because the next big discovery could be made by anyone. Someone watching this video, someone like you. All it takes is a sharp eye, a little curiosity, and the belief that even the most ordinary-looking penny might have an extraordinary story to tell. If you're checking your change right now, you're doing the right thing. Look through every 1990 D penny you come across. Use the magnifying glass. Look for the shine, the sharpness, the mirror finish. Because the truth is, these coins are still out there. Some are sitting in jars, some in drawers, some tucked away in old collections that no one's looked at in decades. You don't need to be a millionaire to start collecting. But you might become one if luck's on your side. Every great discovery starts with someone who paid attention to what others ignored. That's how fortunes are found, in the little things. The 1990 D Lincoln penny isn't just valuable because it's rare. It's valuable because it reminds us that greatness can hide in plain sight. That's why collectors love the hunt. It's not just about the money. It's about the thrill, the mystery, the hope that your next coin could be the coin.so. Take another look through your pennies tonight. Don't rush it. Study them. Shine a light across the surface. You never know what secrets a single coin might hold. The next time you see that tiny D mint mark from 1990, take a closer look, because it could be your ticket to $1 million surprise. But what if I told you that one of those 2002 Lincoln pennies could be worth over $1.2 million? Yes, a coin you could have walked past, spent at the grocery store, or found stuck in your car's cup holder, could secretly be your ticket to a millionaire's life. That IT sounds impossible, right? A modern penny from 2002, worth more than a house, a car, and your entire retirement fund combined. But every once in a while, a coin appears that rewrites what we thought we knew about pocket change. And the story of this 2002 mint mark Lincoln penny is one of those legends. It's the early 2000s. The US Mint is churning out billions of shiny new pennies. No one's paying much attention. After all, who cares about a coin that's only worth 1 cent? But in that ocean of copper-plated zinc, something strange happens. A few pennies leave the mint with a flaw so tiny, so perfectly hidden, that almost no one notices. For years, these coins slip through hands, into jars, through vending machines, until one day, a coin collector spots something odd. Take a look at this one. The collector picks up a 2002 penny and notices something, the mint mark. It's slightly off, struck in a way that doesn't match the mint standard. And under a magnifying glass, it looks like it's been double punched. That tiny imperfection would turn out to be worth a fortune. By the time experts confirmed it, word spread fast. Coin forums lit up, collectors started digging through their rolls, and everyone was asking the same question. Now here's where it gets interesting. The valuable version of the 2002 Lincoln penny comes from a rare minting mistake that only happened on a few dies. There are two key features you need to look for. First, check the mint mark just below the date. If it's slightly misaligned, doubled, or appears to have a faint shadow, don't dismiss it. That's the first red flag that you might have one of these errors. These pennies often have a slightly different sheen, a kind of reddish-brown luster that doesn't look like normal circulation wear. Some collectors even describe it as having a golden tone under certain lighting. That's because the outer copper plating was struck unevenly, creating a unique surface texture that a few of these 2002 pennies have been authenticated and sold, and one of them fetched more than $1 million at auction. A penny, 1 cent, turning into over $1 million. Let that sink in for a second. Now imagine being the person who found it. Maybe you were rolling up your change at the kitchen table, thinking you'd just cash it in for a few bucks. And then, there it is, a small, unassuming coin that could change your entire life. Collectors describe that feeling as pure disbelief. One man said his hands were shaking so hard, he dropped the coin twice. Another woman said she thought it was a prank, until the appraisal came back from a major grading company confirming it was real. She went from having 1 cent in her hand to holding over $1 million in value. The truth lies in the minting process. In 2002, the mint used both Philadelphia and Denver facilities to produce billions of pennies. During that production, one of the minting dies at the Denver Mint was accidentally overpunched. That created what's now known as the 2002 doubled mint mark error. These are nearly impossible to spot with the naked eye unless you know exactly what you're looking for. Let's reset for a second. Take a look at any penny from 2002. You'll see Abraham Lincoln's profile facing right. Under the date, you'll find a tiny letter, either a D for Denver or no mark for Philadelphia. The valuable version almost always shows a D mint mark that looks a bit thicker or blurred, as if it was struck twice. And if you spot that, you might be holding a fortune. Now, here's where most people mess up. They assume every old penny must be valuable, or they give up because the odds seem small. But serious collectors know it's not about odds, it's about eyes. The right eyes and the right moment can turn a lifetime of pocket change into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. You might be sitting there right now, thinking about that jar of pennies in your kitchen or that old box of coins your grandfather left behind. Don't ignore it, because coins like this don't announce themselves. They hide quietly, waiting for someone curious enough to notice the difference. And the difference could be worth $1 million. Every few years, another one surfaces. A 2002 D penny sold at auction in pristine condition for 6 figures, and experts believe at least a handful more are still out there, undiscovered. They might be sitting in old rolls from the bank, in dusty drawers, or mixed into jars of forgotten change. Collectors suggest using a jeweler's loupe or magnifying glass to inspect your pennies carefully. Focus on the date, the mint mark, and the rim. If you see doubling, off-center strikes, or an unusually sharp shine, you might have something special. Then, send it to a trusted grading company like PCGS or NGC. Their certification could be the difference between a regular penny and one that sells for hundreds of thousands, or even over $1 million. You don't have to be a professional collector. Some of the biggest discoveries come from regular people, retirees, truck drivers, teachers, folks who just got curious one day and decided to look closer. A penny minted in 2002 was worth 1 cent back then. Today, that same penny could buy you a lake house. It could pay off your mortgage. It could change your family's future. So, the next time you grab your spare change, slow down. Take a moment. Look closely, because what looks like an ordinary coin could actually be one of the rarest pieces of modern U.S. history. Every great discovery starts with curiosity. And yours might start tonight, at your kitchen table, under the warm glow of a desk lamp, as you turn a simple coin in your hand and realize it's not simple at all, that it's a symbol of luck, patience, and the wild possibility that treasures still exist in everyday life. So go ahead. Pull out your coins. Grab that magnifying glass. You might just find a 2002 Lincoln penny with a mint mark that doesn't look quite right. And if you do, well, you might want to sit down before you check the auction price. But that tiny coin, that 1981 D Lincoln penny, could be worth $1.3 million. Yes, you heard that right. 1 cent that could change your life forever. Now, before you think this is just another internet rumor, let me tell you, the story behind this coin is as real as the copper it's made from. And what makes it so shocking is how close it came to being forgotten forever. It's 1981, the last full year before the US Mint switched from solid copper pennies to copper-plated zinc. Inflation was hitting hard, metal prices were rising, and the mint was under pressure to cut costs. Millions of pennies poured out of Denver that year, marked with a small, humble D beneath Abraham Lincoln's shoulder. But buried in that mountain of coins were a handful of mistakes. Coins struck under the wrong conditions, using experimental planchets and test dies that were never meant to leave the mint point. One of those mistakes turned into a legend. Collectors who've handled it describe it as almost glowing differently under light. The surface isn't the dull brown you expect. It's richer, deeper, almost like it was frozen in time. Some experts even say you can feel a faint difference in weight if you hold it long enough, the subtle clue that separates it from an ordinary penny. Now imagine some mint worker, decades ago, standing over a press, unaware that a few misstruck coins would someday make collectors lose their minds. Maybe one of those coins slipped into a handful of change during lunch break. Maybe it ended up in a coffee shop register or someone's pocket, forgotten for 40 years. And right now, that same penny could be sitting in your home. Before we go any further, let's talk about how you can identify this rare 1981 D penny. You'll want to start with the mint mark, the small d just below the date. Look closely. The genuine $1 million coin shows an unusually sharp, double D. It's not your typical machine doubling. It's a genuine die error, where the mint mark was punched twice, slightly off-center. You can spot a tiny shadow or ghost image right beside the main D. Next, check the color. The valuable ones were struck from a copper planchet that had an unusual composition, slightly more reddish tone, almost like the color of a new penny that never aged. Most 1981 D pennies are 95% copper and 5% zinc, but this one is purer, heavier, and richer. A quick weigh-in can tell you a lot. A normal penny weighs about 3.11 grams, but this error penny sometimes hits slightly above that, 3.13 or even 3.15 grams. That tiny difference could mean a difference of over $1 million. And here's where the mystery deepens. In the late 1980s, a collector in Colorado reportedly discovered one of these coins while going through a box of old rolls from his father's estate. At first, he didn't think much of it, just another old penny. But something about the color and mint mark looked strange. He sent it for grading, and weeks later, he got a phone call that changed his life. That little coin, the same one he almost spent on a cup of coffee, was authenticated as one of the rarest transitional errors ever made at the Denver Mint. When it hit the private auction block, the final bid came in at over $1.3 million. Think about that for a second. A coin that's been passed through countless hands, ignored, spent, dropped, scraped. And yet, beneath all that wear, hides a story that could pay off a mortgage, send your grandkids to college, or change your retirement forever. That's the thing. No one really knows. Some experts believe fewer than 5 examples exist, maybe even just 2 that have been verified. And since they look almost identical to regular 1981 D pennies, the rest could be sitting unnoticed in old jars, dusty piggy banks, or coffee tins across America. Here's another clue to watch for. The rim on these rare coins tends to be slightly higher than normal because they were struck with slightly higher pressure during testing. If you tilt the coin under light, the raised edge almost casts a shadow around Lincoln's profile. Combine that with the doubled mint mark and a slightly heavier weight, and you might just have the $1 million penny. Now let's pause and imagine something together. You're sitting at your kitchen table, sorting through your spare change. Maybe you've got a magnifying glass. Maybe you're just killing time. You pick up a few dull pennies, toss them aside. Then you spot one that just feels different. Maybe it's heavier, or maybe that tiny D looks off. You hold it up, the light hits it just right, and your heart skips a beat. That's how it happens. That's how discoveries are made. Every legendary find starts with someone who decided to look a little closer. These stories aren't just about coins. They're about second chances, about something ordinary turning out to be extraordinary. That's why collectors are so passionate. Every old jar, every roll of pennies, is a treasure hunt waiting to be finished. And if you're wondering what makes this specific 1981 D penny so special to collectors, it's because it marks the end of an era, the last full year of the true copper penny, struck in Denver, right before everything changed. After 1982, pennies became lighter, cheaper, and far less durable. The 1981 D-era coin is a time capsule, a symbol of craftsmanship, history, and luck all wrapped into one small piece of metal. Now, imagine being the one to find it. Picture the moment you open that roll, the sound of coins spilling out across your table, and realizing one of them could be worth $1.3 million. Your hands start shaking. You grab your magnifier. Your pulse starts racing. That's not just excitement. That's history calling your name. And don't think it's impossible. Remember, countless million-dollar coins have been found by regular people, retirees, hobbyists, even kids checking change from a vending machine. Luck favors the ones who look closer to S. Oh, here's what you can do tonight. Go through your pennies. Separate the 1981s, then the ones with the D mint mark. Grab a digital scale if you have one. Check the weight. Anything above 3.11 grams deserves a second look. Get a magnifier. Inspect the mint mark for doubling. And if it checks those boxes, take it to a local coin shop or send it for professional grading. Because if you're holding one of those few surviving transitional errors, you might be sitting on a fortune that, let's be honest, most people overlook their change. They think treasure hunting ended centuries ago. But not you. You know the truth. Treasure hides in the smallest places. A simple Lincoln penny, struck in 2011 with a tiny D mint mark, quietly jingling in someone's pocket change, yet it's worth $1.4 million. $1.4 million, hidden in plain sight, mistaken for just another copper-colored coin. But behind that familiar face of Abraham Lincoln lies a mystery that's been baffling collectors and even mint insiders for years. Most people spend pennies without a second thought. You drop them in tip jars, leave them on counters, or lose them in couch cushions. But the 2011 D. Lincoln penny? It's no ordinary cent. It's a coin that's turned ordinary people into millionaires overnight. It all started with a strange report from a Denver coin collector back in 2015. He claimed he'd found a 2011 D. Lincoln penny with an unusual shimmer, a metallic tone that didn't match any other cent he'd ever seen. At first, no one believed him. They thought it was just lighting or maybe a damaged coin. But when the coin was tested, it revealed something shocking. It wasn't made from the usual copper-plated zinc. It was struck on a rare transitional planchet, the same kind used for foreign test coins, accidentally fed into the U.S. Mint's presses. That single mistake turned one tiny penny into a life-changing treasure. And since that discovery, whispers of more have surfaced, a handful of other 2011 D pennies with the same odd metallic sheen, slightly different weight, and sharp, almost proof-like details. But here's the part that sends chills down collectors' spines. No one knows exactly how many of these rare 2011 D pennies exist. Could there be 5? What we do know is that one verified specimen sold for over $1.4 million, and experts believe others are still out there, buried in change jars, sitting in old dresser drawers, or tucked away in forgotten coin rolls. Now, here's what makes this coin so unique, and how you can tell if you've got one. First, look closely at the mint mark. The D, for Denver, should appear crisp and slightly tilted, not perfectly centered. Many of these rare 2011 D errors have a slight northwest tilt on the mint mark. Next, check the surface of the coin under light. If it looks more silvery than reddish-brown, almost like a dull nickel rather than a bright copper, your heart should start racing. Weigh the coin if you can. A normal 2011 D penny should weigh about 2.5 grams. The million-dollar ones? They often weigh closer to 3.1 grams, the weight of the older copper planchets. That difference might seem small, but in the world of coin collecting, it's everything. It's the line between a penny worth 1 cent and one worth $1 million. There's a story that one lucky man in Kansas found one of these rare 2011 D pennies while searching through a jar of change his late father left behind. He almost spent it, thinking it was nothing special. But something about the color caught his eye. He took it to a coin show, and when experts weighed it, jaws dropped. That coin, dusty, forgotten, sitting in a mason jar for a decade, changed his life forever. Imagine that moment. You're holding a coin you've seen 1,000 times before, and suddenly someone tells you it's worth more than your house, your car, and your retirement savings combined. Your hands would shake. Your heart would race. You'd feel the weight of history, of chance, of destiny sitting right there between your fingers. But here's the real twist. Some experts believe these 2011 transitional errors may have been struck intentionally by Mint employees experimenting with leftover materials. That's what makes them even more mysterious. Were they accidents or secret test strikes that were never meant to be found? The Mint has never confirmed it. And that silence only fuels the legend. Every few months, another rumor pops up online. A collector swears he's seen one in a coin roll. A woman says she found one in her kid's piggy bank. But until it's authenticated by professionals and tested for weight and metal composition, it remains just another rumor, another dream of that million-dollar discovery. Take a bright light and a magnifying glass. Flip every 2011 penny you own. Focus on the shine, the details, and the weight. If the color looks off or it feels heavier than usual, don't ignore that gut feeling. It might just be the clue that leads you to your own million-dollar coin. Keep an eye on the edges too. Some of these rare 2011 pennies have slightly sharper rims, not worn or rounded like normal circulation cents. That's because they were likely struck with more pressure or on harder metal. The result? A penny that feels a little more solid, a little more deliberate. You're sorting through your change one night, maybe out of boredom, maybe out of curiosity. You spot a 2011 penny that just looks different. You pull out a small scale, weigh it, and it reads 3.1 grams. You check the color, silvery hue. The mint mark? Slightly tilted. Your heart skips. Could this be it? You take it to a coin dealer. He looks at you, eyes wide, and says, "You might want to sit down." It's a story that's been repeated throughout coin history. From the 1943 copper penny to the 1955 double die, from the 1982 transitional cents to this incredible 2011 rarity. The magic of coin collecting is that it rewards curiosity. It rewards those who look twice at what everyone else ignores. And maybe that's the real beauty of this story. It's not just about money, though $1 million sure doesn't hurt. It's about discovery. About the thrill of realizing that even in something as ordinary as pocket change, there can be miracles waiting to be found. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't overlook that pile of pennies. Look closer. Weigh them. Shine a light on them. Because one of those little copper coins might hold a secret worth more than gold. A single, ordinary-looking Lincoln penny, the kind you've passed over 1,000 times, turns out to be worth $1.6 million. Not a silver dollar, not a gold coin, just a 1973 penny with no mint mark. It's a story so unbelievable, it's turning pocket change into life-changing fortune. A man cleaning out his late father's desk finds a small glass jar of old coins. Nothing special at first, just years of forgotten change. But then, he notices one penny looks different. The color, the texture, the way it caught the light, it didn't match the others. He took a closer look and realized it was a 1973 penny with no mint mark. He almost tossed it aside. Almost. But that hesitation, it changed everything. Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The ones from Denver had a tiny D. San Francisco coins had an S. But the ones from Philadelphia? Usually no mint mark at all. So what makes this one so special? Why would a common penny with no mint mark be worth more than a brand new Ferrari? That's where the mystery begins. Most 1973 pennies were made of copper, about 95% copper, 5% zinc. But a microscopic number were struck on experimental planchets, test metal discs that were never meant to leave the mint. A mix-up during production, a quiet mistake that went unnoticed, sent these rare planchets into circulation. And one of them? That's the $1 million coin. Imagine the shock. A coin collector buys a small box of pennies at a yard sale, just $5 for the lot. Weeks later, while sorting through them, he notices the weight feels slightly off. He drops it on the counter. It makes a duller sound than the rest. A trip to the local coin shop later, and his hands are trembling. The appraiser stares in disbelief. "Do you know what you've got here?" he says. "This penny could pay off your house. And your kids' houses. It's not just a coin. It's a piece of American history. A silent survivor of the mint's experimental era, when technology, error, and human hands collided to create a handful of mistakes worth millions. These coins weren't supposed to exist. But they do. And they're out there. You could be holding one right now. Start with the date, 1973. Flip it under good light. You shouldn't see any mint mark under the date. No D, no S. just the number. But that alone isn't enough. The key lies in the details. The real million-dollar versions have a slightly different strike. The lettering appears sharper, and the edges look more defined. They can appear more bronze-like, sometimes with a faint golden hue due to the metal composition error. A simple magnet test can help. A regular copper penny won't stick. If it does, you may have something far rarer, and don't stop there. Weigh it. A normal 1973 copper penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. If yours weighs even slightly more or less, especially closer to 3.8 grams, that's a massive red flag, the good kind. That's what sent experts into a frenzy when one collector's coin hit the scales at that number. Why now? Your heart might be racing a little. Maybe you're thinking of that jar of old coins in the kitchen drawer, or the box your grandfather gave you years ago. That's the thing about this hobby. One coin, one discovery, can change your life in an instant. But the story doesn't end there. There's another layer of intrigue. A theory that some of these error pennies were intentionally released by mint workers who realized what they'd found. Whispered tales from the 1970s tell of employees who pocketed experimental pieces as souvenirs, never realizing they were creating million-dollar rarities. And here's the kicker. Some of these 1973 no-mint mark pennies have already been found, authenticated, and sold for over $1.6 million at private auctions. But experts believe more is still out there. Every year, new discoveries surface from attic boxes, garage sales, or even change from the grocery store. Now, imagine you're holding one in your palm. It feels just like any other coin, light, cold, familiar. But in that simple piece of metal lies a fortune, a symbol of how luck, timing, and curiosity can turn an ordinary moment into something extraordinary. But that's the beauty of it. The odds don't matter when the reward is this high. The thrill is in the search, in the chance that your next handful of change could hold a hidden treasure. That let's do a quick reality check. Millions of 1973 pennies were made. The rare ones? Maybe just a handful. That's why collectors lose sleep over them. Every roll opened, every jar sorted, is a small adventure. A chance to beat the odds. If you ever find a 1973 penny that looks off, don't spend it. Don't even clean it. Put it in a plastic flip or case and get it checked by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Those three letters can turn your lucky find into verified gold. Literally. Because once it's authenticated, the bidding wars begin, and those numbers start climbing fast. And when you hear that final hammer at auction, $1.6 million for a single penny, you realize this isn't just about money. It's about discovery. It's about turning curiosity into history. That's what makes collecting so powerful. Each coin tells a story of America, of craftsmanship, of human error that became priceless art. And sometimes, that story chooses you. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't just toss those pennies aside. Hold them up to the light. Look closer. Listen to that small voice whispering, "What if?" Because what if that dull, old penny is your million-dollar miracle?